Coming to you from Long Beach, California, this is GovLove, a podcast about local government, brought to you by Engaging Local Government Leaders. I'm Meredith Reynolds, Deputy City Manager of Long Beach, California, and GovLove co-host. We have a great episode for you today. We are talking with Caitlin Lewis, the Executive Director of Work for America. But first, the best way to support local gov is to become an ELGL member. ELGL is a professional association engaging the brightest minds in local government. Check us out and learn more about membership at elgl.org. Now let me introduce today's guest. Caitlin Lewis is the Executive Director of Work for America, a new nonprofit initiative working to make public service a more desirable, accessible, and stable career path that uplifts families, communities, and our country. Prior to Work for America, Caitlin's career spans the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. She has developed social impact strategies for global brands and served as a philanthropic advisor to Van Jones. She was a founding employee at an affordable housing fund and chief of staff at a mission-driven GovTech company. She has served in local, state, and federal government, including at New York City Hall and in the White House Liaison Office of the USDA. She has worked on political campaigns and ran external affairs for the organization that manages Times Square. Caitlin earned a BA in Social Studies from Harvard University and is a graduate of Coro Leadership, New York. Welcome to GovLove, Caitlin. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, so great to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to start today with some fun lightning round questions. So we can get through a number of these here. So what was the first music album that you owned?
I am totally unashamed to introduce myself to this podcast as having owned Britney Spears' Baby One More Time as my first CD, and it was also the first concert I ever went to.
Wow. Okay, well, and that was, Britney Spears in her prime, and I feel like that summer, all you heard was that song on the radio.
Yes, it was the time of my life, I will say that.
Awesome. What's one notable book you have read that you recommend to others working in local government?
I am going to choose a book that is probably familiar to most, but my favorite thing that I did last year was the 99% Invisible podcast Power Broker read along. So I first read the Power Broker right when I moved to New York City and before I had worked in local government. And rereading it, having worked at City Hall in New York, was a whole different, incredible experience. And there's really something to be said for the fervor and speed with which Moses and the city was able to translate these large New Deal era federal programs into shovels on the ground in communities. So while his legacy has not aged well for good reason, I think it's required reading for anyone working in government, especially those focused on the built environment.
Very good. And followed up immediately by Jane Jacobs, right?
Of course. They're a duo to read alongside one another.
Right. What is one fun fact about you?
A fun fact about me is I was a very active member of the Future Farmers of America when I was in high school.
Okay.
It's often a little known fact about me, but the FFA is the largest youth organization in the country. So I led conferences and workshops for my peers. I